How's it going, guys? Shizukatz here on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and today we bring you a product opening for the newly released Quintessential Quintuplets Volume 2. So this set is going to have a lot of really cool cards and powerful cards, of course, that support and expand on the existing strategies that we have already seen from the first set of Quintessential Quintuplets. And so that includes a lot of cards that support the individual waifu decks for each of the 5 quintuplets. If you guys haven't checked it out already, we do have a set of waifu decks on the from the first set of Quintessential Quintuplets, but we will be bringing you guys some new updated lists using a bunch of the new cards from the second set. So be sure to look out for that. Now, in today's product opening, we are going to be looking at 2 booster boxes and hopefully pulling some really cool cards. There's some absolutely beautiful art from some of the higher rarity cards in this set, of which there are multiple different varieties. So we have, of course, the SSPs, which are the sign cards, as well as the Hanayome rares making a return from the first set. And in the second set, we do have the, I believe that's the introduction, I don't believe they had it in the first set, of OFRs. And there are some absolutely gorgeous OFRs that hopefully we can pull some of those high profile cards in today's opening and show those to you guys. Now, before we get into the opening, we of course have to highlight the beautiful case topper playmat for set 2. So there was a case topper playmat in set 1 as well, and then with the set 2 playmat, it is using the different art style that they used for the second season. And the case topper playmat is of the stitched edge variety, and it comes one playmat per case. So you get one case and get this beautiful playmat, and then just start showing it off in all of your games. So without further ado, let's get right into our first box opening. All right, let's get right into the first box. And so with the foils in this set, as far as the expected case ratios, you can expect to pull 1 SSP per case, as well as 1 Hanayome rare and 2 OFRs. There are no normal SPs in this set, only the SSPs, and those are the only cards that come signed in the set. But that being said, those are definitely not the only cards that you should be looking for as a result. Like the OFRs, like I mentioned before, they are absolutely gorgeous, and I'm really hoping that we pull some of those in today's opening. So of course we have the box topper promos, in this case pulling the 2-1 Yotsuba. So one thing about some of the strategies amongst the decks coming out of Quints 2 is that they have had a bit of a slight change depending on which girl you're looking at. So one example would be in Yotsuba's case, she has quite a few cards that revolve around memory in this set. So a lot of players that play That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime really like to compare some of the cards from Slime in like the Shizu deck to the Yotsuba deck. So that's a really cool change. And then some of the other changes would be like the Itsuki deck now has some cards that rely on experience. And you know, we'll just get right into the box opening, and then hopefully we can just pull some of those cards and then show them to you guys as we go. So we have our 16 packs, and let's just get right into the first pack. All right, let's take a look at some of our lower rarity cards. There is some legacy support out of the second set as well. One example being this level 1 Yotsuba. So she has an effect where when you trigger a climax, you can discard a climax to salvage either the 2-1 support from the first set or the 3-2 level 3 combo from the first set, I believe. So this definitely plays into that first set strategy, despite the second set having some new options for all of the girls. And then her other effect also allows you to, once you're at level 2, you can pay 1 and sack her to summon the level 2 support from your waiting room to the slot that she was on. And so that level 2 support, of course, in the first set being a card that you want to see lots of copies of at level 2, as you can use the climax combo to change her into the level 3. So it's a really great card for that particular strategy. We have the 1-1 Nino, a very common standby target amongst the 8 standby builds or just mono Nino builds. The new 3-2 Nino. Here we have the first of a set of 5 cards, or 6 cards, I guess, if you count the Futaro, where it's like a massive, like 6-card wombo combo, climax combo, and they all work off of the same climax, and it's a pretty interesting way that you bring these cards out, so hopefully we'll be able to show that off. I'm actually going to keep this off to the side, because that's a pretty neat deck if you want to try playing it. We have, for our first uncommon, we have a Yotsuba free fresh counter if you're playing a like mono Yotsuba deck, because you do have to have 5 Yotsubas on the board. Okay. We have an Itsuki global support. And for our first rare, we have a 3-2 Ichika. So this is a new climax combo out of the second set. It's an early play, and it also has an ability that when your opponent's character across from this declares an attack, you can pay 1 to look at up to 2 cards from the top of your deck, and you basically like mocha yourself. And so this allows you to take the clean damage off the top of your deck. Additionally, she has a climax combo that lets you search your deck for 2 Quints characters and gain additional power. But actually the main usage that I've seen out of this card is using standby climaxes to bring this out and then use its defensive effect without the climax combo to prevent your opponent from dealing damage to you. So there's some pretty creative ways that you can use some of the cards in the set that you wouldn't necessarily think to use them immediately. As for the climaxes in this set, pretty much every single climax is tied to what that character was utilizing in their like waifu deck from the first set. And so basically it's like Yotsuba, all of her climaxes are gold bars. Ichika, all her climaxes are choice. Nino's climaxes are standbys. Miku's climaxes are pants, and Itsuki's climaxes are gates. And they don't deviate from that at all. They just get two climaxes for each girl, and then there is a 3rd gold bar climax that goes with the like wombo combo Futaro combo, which we will get to in a bit. All right, let's go on to the next pack. So we do have, in the second set, we have a lot of cards with Nino post-haircut, indicating her shift in really deciding that she wants to, like, whatever she wants to go for, she's just going to go for it. And of course, that is Futaro. We have the mom. We have some, definitely some interesting cards in this set. Here we have our first double R of the box, which is the 3-2 Miku early play. This is something that a few friends of mine that really like playing Miku, they were really hoping for a card like this in the second set when it was first coming out in JP. So previously in the first set, Miku has an early play that requires you having 2 specific characters on stage, and that could be a little bit hard to pull off if it wasn't exactly what you were going for as part of your game plan. Whereas this Miku from the new set, she has a much easier early play condition where you just need to have 4 or more Quintuplets characters on your board, and then she gets level -1. And then so she comes into play, and she is a healer and also gains power during your turn if all of your characters are Quintuplets. So very, very easy to use card, and definitely a great addition to Miku decks. Allows you to be a lot more flexible with your level 2 game. Okay, for uncommons, we have a few. So we have this level 1 Ichika, so 1-0 with a soul trigger. This is something that we see often in decks that utilize choice climaxes a lot, as this gives you additional options to send cards to stock or salvage cards back to hand off of your choice triggers, which is really, really good. We have the level 0 Nino as our rare. She's a really, really strong card for standby decks. She allows you to shuffle characters back into your deck to give one of your characters 1 soul, which is great for standby because you're not outputting a lot of soul damage. In addition, she has an ability that bounces herself back to your hand when you play a climax, allowing you to give power and an on-attack choose your trigger effect, which is really great for triggering standby climaxes. And so the ability to shuffle cards back into your deck actually has amazing synergy with another Nino card, which is a double rare that hopefully we will pull and be able to look at, so we can go over that synergy. So let's go on to our next pack. We have a level 0 Ichika that actually synergizes with the first set Ichika combo. So again, with some of that legacy support. And for our uncommons, we have a level 0 Nino drop salvage. Very nice addition to the utility, making sure that the utility is spread out amongst all the girls, so that if you do want to play a waifu deck, you're not really missing out on any important pieces. And for our rare, we have the level 0 Yotsuba. This is a really interesting card for Yotsuba waifu, as it is both a, or not for Yotsuba waifu, but it's just a really interesting utility card in general, because it is both an on-play drop search for a Quintuplets character, as well as an on-play drop salvage for a character. So this card really interesting in allowing you to grab exactly the cards you want, no matter where they are. All right. And again, just like with the Nino drop salvage that we just looked at in the uncommon slot, this is another way that the set design allows each of the girls to have equal opportunity, making sure they each have drop search, drop salvage, or some way to grab specific pieces. Okay, we have an interesting 1/1 for Itsuki, utilizing a lot of act ability synergy, and this card has an act ability that gives power as well as giving additional power when you use an act ability. So if you want to really double down on that act synergy, that is a card that you can look into playing. Okay. For our uncommons, we have a climax swap for Itsuki. So again, making sure that everybody has all the utility they need. Here we have a very, very interesting card for Nino, which is Runaway Train of Love. So this is a 2/2 event that you need 5 Ninos to play it. So basically you're only playing this in a mono Nino deck. You choose one of your characters and it gains the ability where on attack you reveal the top 9 cards of your deck, and then you shuffle those cards back, and then for each standby trigger amongst the 9 revealed cards, you burn that much to your opponent. And so normally this would only count your standby climaxes, but one of the cards that I was mentioning earlier on the level 0 Nino, there is actually a way that you can gain additional standby triggers in your deck, similar to how Draken works in the Tokyo Revengers set. And so this card allows you to make use of those extra standby triggers to potentially deal extra damage, which is a really, really neat interaction. Okay, for our rare, we have the 1/0 Yotsuba. She has a climax combo where you can blind stock, as well as gain the effect where when this is front attacked, you can return this card to your hand, or you get to choose one of the two. So it's a card that you get a lot of options for your mid game, but ultimately I feel that the Yotsuba from the first set within the trial deck is still the better choice for Yotsuba waifu, as it gives you that extra mill through the deck, as well as being able to get some semi-selective advantage off of the salvage from that climax combo. Whereas with this combo, it can be really good if you're getting the climax over and over again, as you have the option to just bounce back to your hand and then utilize the combo again next turn. Okay, here we have what I think is a pretty interesting card. So it's a backup where when you use the backup, you can clock yourself to salvage 1. And sometimes this can be actually really useful for just grabbing specific cards you need in the mid game while simultaneously saving one of your characters. So you can get a lot of value out of this effect. This Ichika is probably one of the best commons in the set, in the context of what a lot of people feel is the strongest deck in Quints 2, which is the 8 standby deck. So she is in Assist 2000. When you play her on stage from hand, you can heal 1, and then also her third ability is really strong, up to 3 times per turn. When your other character is placed on stage from waiting room, such as via a standby climax, you get to choose one of your characters and give it +1 soul until end of turn. So this is a really, really strong card for modulating your damage going into your finisher turn. So if you want to get a really specific amount of damage onto your opponent and you trigger standby, this gives you that option of modulating your damage and just making your lethal turns a lot more precise. And so this is a really, really good card if you're looking to play those standby decks. Okay, and we do have our next double R, which is the 2/2 Nino. So this is a standby combo with this standby climax. And so what this combo does is when you play the Climax, you can standby out the Nino to the front row, and then you can sack the Climax to stand her, so she is able to attack the turn that you put her into play, and she gains 1,000 power until the end of the opponent's next turn. Additionally, if all of your characters are Quintuplets trait, she gains, during your turn, 5,000 power, and she also gains Hand Encore by discarding a Quintuplets character. So the idea behind this card is that you bring her out early at level 1, and she's basically guaranteed to kill something on your opponent's board every single turn due to her high offensive power. But because her defensive power is not exactly on the high side like typical 2/2 standby target, you can basically just Hand Encore her and then use her to kill whatever ran her over. And so a big theme in the Nino-centric decks is bringing this out and then just maintaining cards in hand so that you can repeatedly Encore this and then just continuously wipe your opponent's board every single turn. And then if she happens to be big enough to just not get run over, then that's great. You're just saving cards and you're able to continue using that really big offensive threat without having to expend additional cards from your hand. So this is one of the key parts of the 8 standby deck, and hopefully we can just pull the other half, which is the 3/2 that we've been talking about this whole time. All right. For our rare slot, we have a very, very interesting card for not only Itsuki Waifu, but you can run this in any deck that runs 8 gate climaxes. So 8 gate, another very popular archetype coming out of the second set of Quints. So this is a brainstorm that it only hits on gate climaxes, but that basically allows it to have 500 more power than it normally would. It's not exactly a big advantage, it's more of a limitation, but it's a very good card nonetheless. So during your turn, if you have 5 or more cards in hand, all of your characters in front of her get 500 power. Very nice incidental boost for offense, but the most interesting part about this card is the first effect, which says you get +1 hand size limit at the end of your turn. So normally at the end of your turn, you're only allowed to have 7 cards in your hand, and this Itsuki allows you to have 8, but it stacks. So if you have multiple copies of this Itsuki Brainstorm on stage, you can increase your hand size to 9 or even 10 or 11, although that's a little bit excessive. And with some of the cards that are in the set, such as the Itsuki level 1 double R combo, you are able to get a ton of cards in hand in addition to the gate climaxes that you're running with this brainstorm anyway. So you could pretty easily hit that new hand size limit, and at the end of your turn, it's pretty funny if your opponent asks like, oh, how many cards do you have in your hand? And you're like, oh, I have 9. And they're like, wait, what? You have 9 cards in hand? But that is just something that this card allows you to do. And the hand size limit, being able to have so much hand is actually quite important as well for the Itsuki finisher, which is very, very hand heavy. So that is a rare slot that maybe we can pull and show that to you guys. So we have, for our next pack, we have another one of the level 3 that goes, another one of the level 3s that goes with the Futaro. We haven't pulled the Futaro yet, so hopefully we'll be able to get to that soon. Here we have a 1/1 Itsuki anti-change bomb, but this is a pretty special bomb because it sends the opponent's character to memory. In addition, it has a grappling hook type effect where when you're at level 3 or higher, you can sacrifice her to choose one of your opponent's characters and move it to an empty slot. So this can be a really, really great card if you want to continue utilizing the Itsuki level 3 from the first set, because that Itsuki requires reversing a battling opponent. So if your opponent tries to play around that combo by sacrificing all their board, you just slap this down on the board and you say, get over here, to their back row, and then suddenly you have reverse targets. Really, really good card. Here we have a great level 0 for Miku Waifu. When she's placed on stage from hand, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is an event card or a Miku character, you put it underneath her as a marker, and then while she has a marker, she gains 2,000 power and anti-runner, and she is a runaway runner herself. So really, really strong card. And obviously being able to grab events off the top card of the deck is really, really important for the Miku deck, as she does run those headphones events that are an important part of her overall strategy. You have a memory kick counter for Miku, a really, really strong card where when you have any climax in your climax area and you reverse a battling opponent, you can blind stock 1, and then also gains 1,500 power on play. Very, very strong card. Pretty much in any deck where you're running enough green that you can justify putting this on the board at level 1. So Yotsuba Waifu, obviously a great choice as you have that level 1 Yotsuba combo, but any deck where you want to run that level 1 Yotsuba combo, so for example, like our set 1 meta build utilized the level 1 trial deck combo for Yotsuba, you can go ahead and run this card alongside it, and it's really, really good. For our next rare, we have another Waifu deck specific card, where she is a center runner, but she's also an on reverse Rise. So when she becomes reversed, you can reveal up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. You can choose up to 1 Ichika from among them, add it to hand, and put the rest in your waiting room, and then discard a card. So being a plussing 0 slot, like being able to play this on turn 1, and then hopefully have this card survive, is really, really good on top of the utility. So this is a really, really powerful card for Itsuki Waifu decks. Okay, we have another very interesting common, a 3/2 Ichika, where you can pay 2, tap her to deal 1 damage to your opponent, and then at the start of your climax phase, you can change by returning her to your hand, and this allows you to change into any Quintuplets character. So a very popular strategy is standbying this card out to bypass the 2 stock costs that we would normally have to pay to put it into play, and then you use that 2 stock that you saved to use the pay 2 rest burn 1, and then you get to change, return her back to your hand, play any Quints character from your hand, and that also bypasses that character's stock cost as well. So very interesting way to utilize this particular card. Okay, let's see what else we have. We do have our next double R, one of the most powerful cards in the set, which is the level 0 Ichika. She does have that Riki effect where when you place her on stage from hand, you can pay 1 and clock the top card of your deck to search your deck for any level 1 or lower character. An amazing profile for consistency, being able to grab things like your level 1 combo or any utility level 0 pieces that you might be missing, as well as using that clock cost to boost yourself to level 1 or boost yourself closer to level 1 so that you can start utilizing those powerful level 1 cards. In addition, she has a secondary ability where when you play her, you can look at the top card of your deck and either put it on the top of your deck or send it to your waiting room. So this can be utilized in different ways depending on what you value more. So let's say you want to make sure that the top card of your deck that you're going to clock off the Riki effect, if you want to make sure that that is not a climax, you can look at the top card, and if it's clean, you leave it on top and then you do the clock cost for the Riki. Or if you want knowledge of the top card for, say, your triggers, you can utilize the Riki effect first, and then you can use the top check effect to make sure that your first trigger is not a climax, so that it's not getting, buried super deep in your stock. Additionally, just going into the mid to late game, you don't even have to use that Riki effect anymore, and you can just play this card for free top check. So it's a card that scales really well throughout the game. It has usefulness at pretty much every point, and that's what makes this one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, double R that you could possibly pull out of the second set of Quintuplets. Okay, and for our rare, we do have the 3/2 Itsuki that I was mentioning earlier when I was talking about the Itsuki Brainstorm. So this particular Itsuki has a climax combo where you need to discard 3 Quintuplets characters in order to use the climax combo, and so that can obviously be pretty taxing on your hand, especially if you're trying to go for multiple copies, but it's a very, very strong finisher where you burn 1 and burn 4. And so in order to help with all of that hand requirement, you can utilize the extra hand size from your Itsuki Brainstorm to keep a ton of cards in your hand and then make it very easy to go into the combo once you hit level 3. And this is one of the cards where you do need experience. This is one of a few experience cards in set 2, and so this one requires experience 6, and the level 1 Itsuki requires experience 2. So you will want to be playing a lot of higher level cards in Itsuki decks so that you can throw them into your level zone and make sure that you can use these abilities. I believe this is another one of the cards that goes with the 5-piece combo. This is another one of the cards that goes with the This is another one of the cards that goes with the 5-piece combo. So literally, we just pulled the remaining 3 that we didn't have already. I might have missed one in the previous comments, so apologies if I skipped over that. But yeah. For this particular level 0 Itsuki, as I was just explaining, you do want experience for the Itsuki deck. And so this is a level swap card allowing you to choose 1 card in your level and a Quintuplets character in your waiting room and swap them. Additionally, it is also an act ability, synergizing with all of the act synergy for Itsuki cards, so it plays into both of those trends. That being said, I don't feel like this is a card that you necessarily need to be running. Hitting Experience 6 by level 3 is fairly easy to do, so and there's some really good act abilities that you're going to want to run besides this, such as the level 0 Itsuki Brainstorm. So I don't think this is actually a card that you need to run, but it's an option for those synergies if you do want to run it. And so we do have, for our first foil, we have a 1/0 Nino. She has an on attack, reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is an event or quintuplets character, you can give any character 3k power. That being said, I don't feel like this is the greatest fit for most quintuplets decks. In Nino decks, you really want to be just playing a lot of some of the really powerful red cards that are available. In addition, the standby strategies, you typically want to have kind of bigger defensive bodies, and your offense is pretty much covered with like cards like the 2/2 Nino. So I don't feel like this is the strongest card. It doesn't fit into a ton of strategies, but it does have some great synergy with some Nino cards, such as the level 0 we looked at earlier, where it gives the effect where you get to choose your trigger. And then so if you use that effect on this 1/0, not only does it allow you to choose your trigger, it also allows you to verify that the top card of your deck that you're going to be revealing is a valid card in order for you to get that 3k boost. So pretty interesting card. It's not necessarily one that I would choose from my decks, but definitely a card that you could consider running. Here we have a 1/0 event for Yotsuba that allows you to salvage any Yotsuba as long as you have 4 Yotsubas on board. And here we have a level 0 Ichika that is actually one of the restricted cards in the Japanese format. So this card has 2 very powerful effects. First of all, she has a pay 1, rest 2 Brainstorm, and then you mill 5 instead of 4. And then for each climax you hit, you get to search your deck for 1 Ichika. So this card does have that name lock, but in exchange allows you to brainstorm through 1 additional card. In addition, she has a second effect where you can pay 1, sack her to look at up to 4 cards from the top of your deck, grab any quintuplets character from among them, add it to hand, and send the rest to waiting room. So this card by itself gives you tons of deck control between the Brainstorm 5 as well as the pay 1 sack, allowing you to go through anywhere from like, you can go through basically any number of cards from 1 to 9 in a single turn. So really interesting set of effects, giving you tons of deck control. And this is one of the cards that is restricted alongside the level 0 Nino, which I don't believe we pulled. Is another rare, and also the 2/3 Minus Soul Nino event from the first set. So those are all very powerful cards that have all been utilized in the 8 standby build, which we will be showcasing on the channel, so you guys can get an idea of how that sort of deck is meant to be run. Okay, so for our rare, we have the 1/0 Miku new combo from the second set that gives you on climax, or climax combo on reverse salvage. Typically Nino players, or not Nino players, typically Miku players are still utilizing the headphones climax combo from the first set, as it is a very powerful combo, being able to grab those events and convert those events into other things. On top of the headphones combo not requiring any interaction with your opponent. You just grab the events and then you just go. Okay, moving on now to the second half of the box. Here we have the non-foil version of the 1/0 Nino. Okay, bonus climax. This is actually the climax that goes with the 5-piece combo, as you can see, with all 5 of the quintuplets on the card. Okay, here we have the new version of the headphones event. So this card requires you to have a Miku in order to play it. You get to look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 character whose name includes Miku, add it to your hand, and put the rest in the waiting room. And then you get to look at the top card of your deck and either leave it on top or put it on the bottom. And so that top check is really useful for some other Miku cards. Like, you can actually synergize this with the headphones from the first set. If you see a card on top that has a high level, you can utilize the first set headphones to salvage something of a high level. Additionally, you can use a card such as the Miku, where when you play her, you can, if you have 2 or more other characters, you can draw a card and discard a card. And if you like see a card on top that you really want to draw. Otherwise, you can just put that card on the bottom. And potentially, maybe by by putting a non-climax on the bottom, this also maybe allows you to artificially create 5-card brainstorms with a Miku brainstorm. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do with the headphones event. And it also gives Miku some much needed deck control that she lacked in the first set. We have a rare Ichika level 1. She has 2 change effects, allowing her to change into a couple Ichika cards. One of them is a 2-1 support that is a really, really strong card for choice, and it can be really, really annoying against the right deck. Okay. Let's move right along. And speaking of that 2-1 support, here is that 2-1 Ichika. So she is a level support, and then she has an ability where when you trigger a choice climax, if she doesn't have a marker underneath her, you can marker a Quintuplets character underneath her. And then during your main phase, as an act ability, you can sack the marker to choose one of your opponent's characters and put it into memory until the beginning of the encore step. So this can be extremely obnoxious against decks that really want like a big support, or they have like a minus soul ability. For example, like the 3-2 Yotsuba from first set. You can just completely remove those from the board until the end of the turn. And it's a really, really annoying card to go up against depending on what deck you're playing. Even if you're not playing against those decks where they have these really high impact abilities like on your opponent's turn, you can just use this ability to remove a character from your opponent's board to maybe increase the amount of soul damage you're outputting to go for a direct lane. You can also use this as like a pseudo bounce if you want to play around things like money counter or rest counter. And this is a really, really cool card for Ichika. And I have definitely played against this card, and it has annoyed me to no end. So definitely a card to look out for if you want to play a deck with Ichika Waifu, or just any deck that utilizes choice climaxes. All right, for our rare, we have a climax swapper for Ichika. This is another extremely powerful card. Apart from being a climax swap, she also has an effect where when you play her on stage from hand, you can put a card from your hand to stock. And so this basically allows you to use any extra hand and convert it into stock, also allowing you to basically turn her climax swap from a pay 1, discard a climax, salvage a climax, into discard 1, discard a climax, salvage a climax. So it allows you to be very, very flexible with your resources, and it's especially good with the first set Ichika climax combo, which does get you additional hand on play with her on play effect, but sometimes you will not have enough stock in order to utilize the climax combo, because the climax combo requires you to pay stock when you play the climax. And so you can utilize this Ichika to make sure that you're always having enough stock to go into that endgame. Really, really strong card. I love this card a lot. And then I think that in terms of like mixed decks where you're just like mixing up all of the best cards from amongst all of the quintuplets, in my opinion, this is definitely the climax swapper that I would prioritize putting in my list, because that on play hand to stock ability is just so strong. All right, let's move on to our next pack. We have a powerful event for Itsuki decks. So it is a 2-1 event that says you salvage a character and then you mill the top card of your deck. And if it is an Itsuki character, you get to salvage another card. So normally, events that allow you to salvage 2 characters without any discard or anything like that, usually they are 2-2 events. And so this one, being able to salvage 2 characters for just 1 stock potentially, is very, very strong. And this is a card that I like to run in pretty high numbers. Like I like to run 3 copies of this, because the Itsuki deck, you do want to be running experience, and this card is another potential experience card that you can throw into your level zone in order to meet that requirement. Okay, here we have the climax swapper for Miku. And for our rare, we have a 3-2 Miku that says on play you can top check 3, rearrange, and then bounce one of your opponent's characters. Additionally, she has a second effect where when you play her on stage, you can discard a headphones event to free refresh. This isn't a card that I see played too often, as usually you want to be you can just utilize those headphones to get into a pretty good deck state. But if you find yourself in a pretty bad state at level 3, this could hypothetically get you out of a sticky situation. But I feel like in Miku, Miku decks, you more often than not at level 3, you just want to be going for a big offensive, as her level 3 combo is quite powerful. Alright, let's see what else we got. Okay, for our second foil, we have an SR version of the Runaway Train of Love. This is the 2/2 event for Nino. One thing that I have forgotten to note about this set previously is that every card in the set, I believe, can actually come foil. And so as a result of that, you are getting, I believe, 3 foils in every single box. So if you're a foil hunter and you want a lot of shiny cards, this is definitely a set to look into. And for our rare, we have the Bell of Vows event counter. And so this allows you to choose one of your Quintuplets characters, and then you basically time machine it. So that is to say, you send it to memory, and it comes back until the start of your next turn. So this can be a very useful ability for maintaining specific characters that you don't want to get run over and get sent to your waiting room, as well as dodging on reverse abilities. That being said, it's not a card that really sees a whole lot of play. I feel like as far as defensive counters go, people are much more likely to run the 2/3 minus soul counter from the first set. But this is definitely a pretty fun card to run. And one really interesting note about this particular card is that the foil version has an alternate art. And without getting too much into spoilers, it is a pretty interesting card to rule on for waifu deck rules, because the alternate art has one of the quintuplets on it, but it's kind of a spoiler as to who it is. So just a pretty fun thing to think about concerning that particular card. And especially with a set like Quintuplets, a lot of people do like playing waifu decks, and I just find it really, really funny when waifu deck players are trying to figure out who is that on that card, and who is it legal to run this card in. All right, anyways, next up we have our double R, which is a 3/2 Yotsuba. So we've actually pulled one double R of, we haven't pulled any 2 double Rs of the same girl yet. So next we have the 3/2 Yotsuba. This is actually probably one of the weaker double Rs in the second set. So she is able to be sent to memory through the effect of a level 0 Yotsuba. And when you play her climax, which is, as soon as I can find it, I don't think we pulled it actually. So it is a gold bar though, but when you're at level 3 and you play the climax, you're able to bring the Yotsuba from your memory straight to stage for free. So she essentially is saving you 2 stock in order to bring her out. And she has an on-attack ability, or not on-attack, end-of-attack ability, where you can pay to discard 1 to force your opponent to mill the bottom 5 cards of your deck, and then deal X damage to your opponent, where X is the number of climaxes amongst those 5 cards. And then until the end of the opponent's next turn, she gains 1000 power. So a big reason why this card is not rated super high is because she doesn't actually have any on-play ability like a heal or being able to dig through your deck for more cards. In theory, she is basically saving you 2 stock though, because she does come into play for free, and she is saving you 1 hand, as you are able to just play her from memory without having to utilize cards in hand. But I feel like the inability to get things like heal or dig through the deck, which are things that players really, really value very high, is part of what keeps this card not super popular, and people that are running Yotsuba-based decks kind of prefer to play that first set combo with the minus soul. Okay, and then for our rare, this is another one of the cards that is on the restriction list in JP. This is an extremely powerful card. Any of you guys that are familiar with Ruby, you guys are probably familiar with the level 0 James Ironwood, which is a very, very powerful level 0. This Nino is basically the exact same card. And so this Nino is actually the reason that people already knew when the James Ironwood first got revealed for Ruby that was going to be an extremely powerful card, because we already had precedence with this Nino in the JP format. So this card, for those of you who are familiar, this card has 2 on-play abilities, both of them extremely powerful. One of them is when she's placed on stage from hand, you can discard a character with Nino in her name, and then you can draw a card. Very, very nice, being able to filter out your hand. Additionally, you can get some very good standby targets in your waiting room, which are also Ninos, and you get to draw a card. And then her other ability, when she's placed on stage from hand, you can discard any card, reveal the top card of your deck, and then check the top card's level, and then salvage a character whose level is equal or lower than the revealed card. So a double hand fix. Both of them are free in that they don't require any stock, and they allow you to get cards where you want them. You can get cards that you have in your hand that you want in your waiting room. You can get cards from your waiting room that you want in your hand. It's just a very, very strong card overall. And yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, this is one of the restricted cards in Japanese format, and it's just a very, very high-performing card. Gives you so much information, gives you so much utility, and it's just so free. All right, let's go ahead and run through the rest. We have the level 0 Nino for our rare. This is the one that allows you to send the level 3 Yotsuba to memory, as she has an act ability where you can pay 1, sacrifice her, look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck, choose up to 1 Quintuplets character from among them, add it to hand, send the rest to waiting room, and then you get to send a copy of the 3/2 Yotsuba from your waiting room to your memory. Right. And here we have for our final double R, another one of the very powerful level 3s from the set, which is the level 3 Nino. And this is going to be an extremely important card for the very powerful 8 standby build that we're going to be profiling later on the channel. So she has 4 effects, actually just a massive wall of text. So during your turn, if you have 2 or more other Quintuplets characters, she gains 4,000 power, allowing her to be extremely powerful on offense, which is very important for maintaining bodies on the board if you want to utilize that 2/3 minus soul counter from first set. Additionally, she has on-play heal. She has a climax combo with a standby where when she attacks, you can, or at the end of her attack, you can pay 1, discard 1 to burn 3. Very, very powerful combo. Additionally, she has an effect where while you have her standby climax in the climax area, which is this climax, so it's the same climax that she uses for her actual combo, but while you have this on stage, if you trigger any copies of this level 3 Nino, they are treated as standbys, similar to the level 1 Draken from Tokyo Revengers. Now, what's really, really powerful in this particular deck as a synergy is utilizing the level 0 Nino rare that we looked at towards the beginning of this opening. Her ability allows you to shuffle 2 Quintuplets characters from your waiting room back into your deck in order to give a character +1 soul. And so if you shuffle back 2 copies of the Nino, it can be extremely powerful for allowing you to trigger these Ninos and get extra standby effects during the mid-game without actually triggering standby climaxes and thus taking climaxes out of your deck. And additionally, even more synergy, Nino's cards have tons of effects that allow you to choose which card you want to trigger from the top 2, allowing you to get very precise triggers and know exactly what you're triggering and get a lot of free standby effects. So there's a ton of internal synergy. It's extremely powerful, and I'm sure you guys can tell this is why the 8 standby Nino-centric build is one of the most powerful decks coming out of Quintessential Quintuplets Set 2. And it's very powerful and a lot of fun to play. So look forward to that for sure, guys. For our rare, we have a 1/1 anti-change bottom deck bomb for Miku. Pretty simple card. And for our final pack of the first box, I believe this should be the 3rd foil, and I got a quick look and it is our 3rd foil. Okay, let's go ahead and get towards that. So it's going to be right behind this one. Let's see what we got. And we have a foil of Rena, which is the mom, I believe. She has a double alarm ability where if she's on top of your clock, at the beginning of your main phase, you can draw 1, discard 1. At the beginning of your climax phase, you can give 2k to one of your characters, as long as you have 3 or more characters on board. And of course, because she's not a quintuplet, she does not have any traits. So playing this card in your deck can be pretty spicy pick. It can be a little hard to grab because you can't grab her with any cards that specifically grab Quintuplets characters, but it can be a pretty fun card to run if you just want to include her in your list. And then now let's go ahead and take a look at our last rare of the box, which is the level 3 Nino. She has, during your turn, if all of your characters have Nino in their name, she gets plus 4,000, again playing into that theme of very, very high offense on these Nino cards, which in a way is kind of flavor with Nino. She's a very, very attack-oriented character. She's very aggressive in getting what she wants. And then during your turn, when she reverses her battle opponent, you can pay 1, deal 1 damage to your opponent. It's not a card that is very often seen in Nino decks, as you do have some very, very powerful options already in your level 3 line, but it is a card that you can consider running. So there we have it for the first box. We have taken a look at a lot of very, very powerful cards in both the high and low rarities. So with the second box, we're just going to kind of go a little bit faster. Obviously, if we see any neat cards that we haven't seen yet, we will take a look at those. But that having been said, we have seen a lot of very, very powerful cards already out of this first box. We have not yet seen the level 0 Futaro that has the 5-piece combo with the 5 quintuplets, so I believe that card is a rare, so hopefully we'll get to take a look at that in the second box. But for now, let's just go ahead and clean up, and then we'll get right into our second booster box. Okay, here we go, guys. It's time for box number 2. In our first box, we were not successful in hitting any of the high-profile rarities. No SSP, no OFR, no Hanayome rare, but we did pull some pretty strong double Rs out of that box. We got the level 0, Ichika Riki, in addition to both of the Nino double Rs, both of which are very, very strong cards utilized in that meta build 8 standby. Unfortunately, we did not pull any Itsuki double R, which if you guys have already watched our set 1 quintuplets content, you guys would know that Itsuki is personally my favorite out of the 5 quintuplets. So hopefully we can pull some Itsuki double Rs. We can take a look at those as I can talk about one of my favorite decks to play out of this set, and not just because she's my favorite character. Here we have, for the box topper PR, we have a level 2 Ichika. This is actually a really interesting card because it is both a backup and has an ability that works on the field. Typically, cards like this, where they have both a backup effect and an on-field effect, are meant to be utilized in like a standby sort of build, where you could potentially standby them out at level 1 and get some sort of benefit. And Ichika does have access to standby in the first set, so that is potentially a route that you could go. I'm pretty sure everybody like universally agrees that the better route, the more traditional route, is going with the 8 choice builds. But if you want to play a standby deck with some Ichika cards, this is definitely a card that you could look into playing. All right, we're gonna try to run through the second box a little bit faster, as we have already seen many of these cards. Here we have the level 1 Yotsuba combo that we saw in the first box. All right, come on now. All right, be sure to let us know in the comments, of course, guys, who is your favorite of the 5 quintuplets, and also whose decks are you most excited to build and play with? Because those don't necessarily have to be the same answers. Like, I'm in Itsuki Oshi, she is my favorite, but that being said, decks like the Nino 8 standby deck are a lot of fun to play, and I'm looking forward to showing you guys how that deck works, because there's a lot of really, really cool lines that you can go in with that. All right, for our first double R of the second box, we have the level 3 Miku. She has an on-play effect where you can either search your deck for a headphone or secret confession event, which is one of the new events in this set. You reveal it to your opponent, put it in your hand, and shuffle your deck, or you can grab a headphone or secret confession from your waiting room and add it to your hand. And then she has a climax combo, which is an on cancel restand, as long as you have a full board, and it doesn't require any cost. So this is not the most popular profile, just because similar to the 3-2 Yotsuba that we already looked at, although the on-play ability does allow you to search your deck or salvage a headphone or secret confession, the actual material advantage that you're getting out of this on-play effect is not quite as strong as something more traditional like an on-play heal or an on-play like top check 3 or a draw 2 discard 1. Typically at level 3, the kinds of cards that people are digging for with those kinds of on-play effects are climaxes for their level 3 climax combo, and even though this does get you a card, it's not necessarily the cards that you're necessarily looking for at level 3. Additionally, her climax combo being an on-cancel restand means that it's not guaranteed to go off, similar to cancel burns. And so if you compare this to a finisher such as the set 1 Ichika, which it also has an on-cancel effect, which is that on-cancel burn 2, but it also has an on-play ability where you get to dig through the top 3 cards of your deck. And that is pretty much universally agreed upon to be a much better climax combo. And then so for Miku decks, a lot of people typically like to go back to that first set Miku combo, which has a very, very powerful offense-based climax combo that isn't reliant on canceling or anything. You just attack and then you just get the job done. That being said, we have not yet looked at the Secret Confession event, which is a very interesting card, so hopefully we can pull that and take a look at that soon. I'm gonna go ahead and move these up a bit, and then move the climaxes to the side so you have a bit more room to work with here. All right, here we have just climax, and we have the Bell of Vows event we saw in the first box. And we have another double R that we haven't not yet pulled, which is the level 1 Ichika. And this is a new level 1 climax combo. It goes with a choice, as both of the Ichika combos, both the Ichika climaxes in this set are choice climaxes. So when she's placed on stage from hand, she gets 1500 power, going up to 6k, and then with the climax, she goes up to 7k. The climax combo allows her to, on attack, you reveal the top card of your deck, and if it is, you reveal the top card of your deck, and then you salvage a character from your waiting room whose level is equal or lower than the level of the card you revealed, giving you some semi-selective advantage, kind of similar to like a Shizu style combo, but it does not mill through the deck, and it only refers to the level of 1 card, making the selectivity of it a bit worse. But it does allow you to also twin drive when you use the climax combo, which can be very, very powerful, obviously, with choice climaxes, allowing you to potentially use a climax to add a card from your waiting room to stock, and then you can use the twin drive effect to pay it out. So when you're using this combo, you typically want to be attacking with this later into the turn after some of your other characters have attacked already, in case those trigger a choice climax, and then you can immediately pay it out. It's a pretty nice card. Between the two Ichika climax combos from the first set and the second one, both of them are pretty serviceable. I personally prefer the first set Ichika, as it does give you the deck speed with the top check 3 add 1. But both of them are very, very serviceable combos. Okay. For rare, we have the Drop Search, Drop Salvage Yotsuba. Alright, moving right along, we have the level 0 Futaro. Okay, well, it doesn't go here, but the level 0 Futaro. So this is the card that goes with the 5-piece combo, and it's a very, very interesting card. So first of all, this card cannot be chosen by your opponent's card effects, which is very important. That means that it cannot get bounced back to your hand by like a win trigger or an effect that chooses one of your opponent's characters and returns it to the hand on play. And that's very important for what this card does. So let's first look at its last effect, which is an act ability. You rest him, choose one of your characters and give it 1000 power, and then you choose up to 1 character from your waiting room that has Irreplaceable Bond in its name, which is all 5 of these. They all have Irreplaceable Bond in their name. You choose one of those cards from your waiting room, you put it underneath him as a marker, as long as you have a total of 4 or less cards in your memory and marker areas. And then you put it underneath him as a marker. So your goal is, over the course of 5 turns, you want to get all 5 of these underneath him as markers. And you're markering one of them every single turn. And then the payoff is that when you hit level 3, you can play the climax, and then you pay 4, sack 4 other characters on stage. So you need to have him plus a full board. So you pay 4, you sack the entire board, you take all 5 of these from your markers underneath him, and then you play them all on stage. And then you put the Futaro into memory. And so the idea behind this is you can take 4 like random garbage cards that cost 0 stock, and you can pay 4 stock and you turn them into 5 cards that would normally cost 2. And so from these 5 cards, all of them have a climax combo with that gold bar climax that you just used to bring them all out. So they're designed in a way that Itsuki, Nino, and Ichika are front row, and then the Miku and the Yotsuba are back row. So the Miku says characters with irreplaceable bond in front of her get 2,500 power, and the Yotsuba says all of your characters anywhere with irreplaceable bond in their name get 1,500 power instead of 2,500 power. Additionally, the Miku is a healer, the Itsuki is a healer. All of them except for the Yotsuba are healers, so you can basically heal 4 as soon as you do that. And then for their climax combos, the Yotsuba lets you take 2 cards from the top of your deck, put them into stock. Your opponent has to shuffle all cards from their waiting room back into their deck except for 1 climax. The Miku lets you put 1 more card from the top of your deck into your stock and then give 2,500 power. And so these stock boosts are very important because the Nino and the Itsuki have extremely expensive abilities for their climax combos. So the Itsuki allows you to restand herself and also top check 2 from your deck and rearrange them, or you can put any cards you want into the waiting room as well. So basically you're like mochaing yourself, allowing you to verify what your incoming triggers are. The Nino gives you 1,000 power, and then all of your characters gain, when this card's damage is not canceled, burn 1. Very, very interesting. And then finally, the Ichika lets you send all of your opponent's characters to memory and then bring them back on stage, and then give a character 2,000. So that can be very useful for example, removing cross-turn buffs, removing cross-turn abilities such as minus soul. And it's just a really, really fun combo. It's not the most practical, as you do need to be able to get all 5 of them underneath Futaro as markers. And so if the game is going really fast, or you just have a turn where like you weren't able to get one of their names into your waiting room in order to put underneath Futaro as a marker, it can be a bit hampering on the game plan, but it's definitely a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just a really, really neat way to play quintuplets. Typically, a lot of cards in quints, they really focus in on just one of the 5 girls, but in this particular deck, you do get to play all 5. And if you just want to show your love for all 5 girls, then this is maybe the deck for you. All right, let's keep moving right along. We need to finish up our opening. We're about halfway through the first box, or getting to halfway, or second box, sorry. Okay. All right, cool. We have pulled an Itsuki. Oh, this goes here. We have pulled an Itsuki Double R. This is a very, very powerful climax combo. So she has an Experience 2 requirement, and on attack, you discard 1 card, and you look at up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. You choose up to 3 Quintuplets characters or the 2/1 event, and you add them all to your hand. So this potentially allows you to get a +2 for every copy, and that allows you to fill up your hand with lots and lots of cards and allow you to utilize that extra hand size that's offered by the level 0 Brainstorm. Additionally, she has a second effect where once per turn when using an act ability, she gets 1,500 power until end of turn. This is an extremely powerful effect when comboed with the promo that was given out in the first set of Quintessential Quintuplets. Or not given out like in the set itself, but it was a promo from first set where it has all 5 of the girls on it, and you can rest it to give one of your characters 1,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. It fulfills the act requirement for the Itsuki to gain her power, and additionally that promo has a second effect where you can discard a card and sacrifice it to salvage any character. And because of how many cards this Itsuki combo is going to be getting you, that cost of discarding a hand and sacrificing the 1/0 to go -1, it doesn't really hurt that much, as like you could, for example, get a copy of Itsuki, which will potentially get you a +2 and bounce right back in card advantage. It's a super, super strong synergy between those two particular cards. So if you're running this Itsuki as your level 1 combo, highly recommend you are running that level 1 promo from the first set. All right, let's see what else we can get. Halfway through the first box, we have the Miku level 1 combo that we looked at earlier. So far we have not pulled any duplicate double Rs in the second box, so maybe we can get lucky and we can pull one of every single double R with no duplicates. That would be really, really cool. For rare, we have 3-2 Nino. We haven't pulled any foils in this box either, so wondering where those are. All right, we did pull another double R that we have not pulled yet, which is the level 0 Itsuki. So this is both a runaway runner. If your opponent has a character across from this, at the start of your opponent's attack phase, you can move her. And in addition to that, she is actually a backup, a 2,000 backup, if you have 5 Quintuplets characters on your stage. So this gives her great flexibility going into the mid game, being able to counter for your board. Also synergizes very well with the level 1 Itsuki, as she gains 1,500 power when you use an act ability, and of course, backups are act abilities, so this potentially allows her to go from 4,500 power all the way up to 8,000 in a single move. Very, very powerful. And this is a card that you can run not just in Itsuki-based decks, but just in any deck in general. The fact that you need to have 5 characters on stage means that you are going to want to be playing a deck that wants to fight for the board, fight for control of the board, and not like just crash lanes a bunch, because otherwise you can't fulfill the condition. So just keep that in mind when you consider which decks you want to play this card in. All right, where are the oh, we do have our first foil. It is the 1/0 Nino. So during your turn, all of your other Quintuplets characters get 1,000 power, and while she's in your back row, when your other Quintuplets character is sent from stage to waiting room, you can sacrifice her in order to bring that character back. So again, another card for Nino that plays into that high offense strategy, being able to swing over your opponent's characters. All right, let's see if we can get that last double R. What are we missing? We are missing the level 0 Yotsuba. So the level 0 Yotsuba is the one that we are looking out for. Here we have our second foil of the box, which is the level 0 Yotsuba. This is an ability that gives power on play, gains power on play, and also gives power to another character on attack. Here's a card that we hadn't looked at yet, which is the 2/1 Secret Confession. This is a card that you can grab off of the level 3 Miku, the level 3 Miku that we looked at earlier in the double R slot. So it's a 2/1 event that requires a Miku on board in order to play, and then you get to choose one of 4 effects. You can either choose one copy of the level 3 Miku in your hand, place it on stage, and then at the end of the turn, you send it to the waiting room. I'm not personally a fan of that particular effect. It does allow you to early play it for 1 stock, but the fact that it dies at the end of the turn is not exactly what we're looking for. Although it would proc the on-play ability, so you do get the +1 off the on-play, potentially getting back like another copy of Secret Confession or just a headphones event. Your other choices are you can heal one from anywhere in your clock. You can choose one of your opponent's characters with higher level than your opponent's level and send it straight to waiting room. Or you can choose one of your characters and give it 3,500 power and... Yeah, okay, so the 3,500 power is until the end of the opponent's next turn. I just had to double check to make sure. The wording on the English one is kind of weird. You choose one of your characters. Until the end of the opponent's next turn, it gains 3,500 power and cannot move. So some pretty interesting effects. And I personally haven't tested around with this particular event, but it looks like it could be quite interesting. Also allows for some additional heal power at level 2 if that's what you desire. All right. Next up, no double R here. For our rare, we have a new Brainstorm for Miku. So she is a search Brainstorm for Quintuplets, and in addition, she has an alarm effect where at the beginning of your climax phase, if she's on top of your clock, you can give one of your characters on reverse bottom deck. Can be very useful for getting rid of specific profiles that are like on death or have encore, things like that. All right, so we have the pack I'm currently holding plus 2 more, and we have 1 double R, I believe, and 1 more foil. We for sure have 1 more foil. And looks like this one is not a foil or a double R. We have a level 0 Itsuki that has on play, you can clock a card from your hand to look it up to X cards from the top of your deck, add 1 to hand, send the rest to waiting room, where X is the number of Quintuplets characters you have. This is a pretty nice way during the mid game to dig through your deck and look for specific cards, like maybe your level 1 climax. Additionally, when your opponent plays a climax, you can send her to stock. And so this is a pretty nice card for if your deck is lacking in stock, you could throw this in, maybe try to get a little bit of extra stock charge. All right, what do we got? What do we got in this particular pack? What do we got? It is our 3rd foil, and it is a level 3 Yotsuba. So you remember how earlier on in the video, I was talking about how a lot of people like comparing this to that time I got reincarnated as a Slime's Shizu deck. So the Shizu deck has an early play. If you have 2 copies of the Shizu in memory, you can early play her and she's a heal. This is a 3/2 Yotsuba early play if you have 3 or more memory, and she also on play heals. So this is another card that people like to compare with that particular Shizu. So unfortunately, this does mean that we did not pull an SP or OFR or Hanayomi rare, only just pulling just like regular SRs, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and open our last pack and see what we get. And for our rare, we actually did pull the non-foil version of that exact same Yotsuba. All right, very last pack. Let's see what we get. Come on, Yotsuba double R level 0. Let's go. Come on. Oh my god, I think we actually pulled it. Wow, we pulled one of every single double R. So this is another card that people like to compare to that time I got reincarnated as a slime, as she is the exact same card as the level 0 Shizu double R from set 2, where on attack you can choose one of your other characters and give it power, and when she gets reversed, you can pay 1, put her back to rest position, and at the beginning of the next encore step you get to put her into memory, which is the exact same card as the level 0 Shizu. So as you can see, a lot of cards that are very parallel to that time I got reincarnated as a slime. Now, so we can go ahead and just take a look at our double Rs. Don't really need to do much cleanup, as we pretty much have everything we need right here. So for our double Rs, let's take a look at them one by one for each of our 5 quintuplets. So for our Ichika double Rs, we have the level 0 Riki, probably the best double R that you could possibly pull in the set, as this can go into basically any deck with that Riki utility, very, very strong. And we have the level 1 Ichika combo with the top check salvage and the twin drive. For Nino, we have 2 very powerful standby abilities with the 2/2 Nino that can stand itself by sacking the climax, and the 3/2 Nino that's just, it's stacked with effects and has tons of amazing synergies with other cards in the set. So definitely another great card to look out for. For Miku, we have her 2 level 3s, the early play as well as the on cancel restander. For Yotsuba, we have the level 0 not Shizu and the level 3 combo that summons itself from memory. And then finally, for my girl Itsuki, we have the level 0 runner and backup, as well as the new level 1 combo, potentially allowing you to get that nice +2 with every single copy. And as for our foils, let's go ahead and get a quick recap on that. We pulled the 3/2 Yotsuba, we pulled the level 0 Yotsuba, 1/0 Nino, and then for our foils from the first box, we pulled the 1/0 Nino, 2/2 Nino train, the Nino hype train, and Rena. So those are the foils that we pulled in our boxes. Now let's take a quick sec to take a look at some of the cards that I'm sure you guys will be chasing, those beautiful SSP cards. So the SSPs are of these 5 cards that you see on the right, the ones that have this like floral background. So for Ichika, we have the level 1 combo. And of course, all of these signs, both their background color and their signature color is coordinated with their specific character. So for the Ichika, we have yellow background, yellow sign. For Nino, we have the purple, and this is the level 3 Nino. This is definitely going to be the SSP that I feel like people are going to be looking for the most. People really like Nino, and on top of this being one of the most powerful and sought after climax combos in the set, definitely think that this is going to be something that a lot of people are hunting for. The 3-2 Miku for the level 3 restand, level 3 Yotsuba right here, and then of course my girl Itsuki with her level 1 combo. And we don't have all of them here to show you guys, but we do have some of the Hanayome rares as well. As I mentioned earlier, Hanayome rares in this set are supposedly 1 per case. And then so we have these Hanayome rares are actually rares in the set, I believe. I believe they're all rares. Yeah, so the Itsuki is the level 0 Brainstorm. The Yotsuba is the level 0 that allows you to send the level 3 to memory. The Miku is the on-play free refresh by discarding a headphones event, and is also a top check 3 rearrange and bounce. And the Nino is the Honorverse burn. So they're pretty much all of the cards that have this particular background, where they are this particular art style, and where they have like the flower crowns. And so the Hanayome rare for the Ichika, did we pull it in this box? It should be this one, right? Yeah, so the Hanayome rare for Ichika, even though we don't have it here to show you guys, it is the level 0 Center Runner and Honorverse Rize for Ichika. So that is the Hanayome rares in the set. And as far as the OFRs, we don't have any here to show you guys right now, but we'll go ahead and throw some pictures of those up on screen. Those are definitely some of the most beautiful arts, in my opinion, in the entire set. Even more so than the SSPs, in my opinion. Just the art style just looks so good on top of the frameless foil pattern. And yeah, so just definitely keep on the lookout for those. And that pretty much sums up everything we have for this opening. We've gone on for quite a bit, but there's a lot to look at in this set. Depending on who you want to play in your deck, there's tons of options that you can look into for both waifu decks and like meta mixed decks alike. So hope you guys enjoyed. This has been Shizukatz on the Tressa's Collectibles channel, and we will see you guys in the next one. We're gonna be doing more updated deck profiles for each of the waifu decks, as well as a meta deck profile. So keep on the lookout for that. Until next time, this has been Shizukatz, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.